with Lauren Stallone.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We begin tonight with a potentially problematic sign for Canada's economy. The country has slipped into a technical recession, according to the latest data from Stats Canada. The numbers show economic growth stalling in the first quarter, with real gross domestic product falling slightly into negative territory. Stats Can officials say higher gold imports and a weak month for Canada's resource extraction were key factors in dragging down recent economic activity. Real GDP has now declined for 2 straight quarters, which meets the technical definition of a recession. With more on the reaction here in London, here's Sean Irvin.
We had more exemptions in 2025 than we had revenue of development charges that came in the door.
The city treasurer is blunt about a growing deficit between the amount of money collected from development charges and the cost of infrastructure projects needed to support the city's growth. Development charges are fees paid to the municipality on new construction intended to cover the costs of growth, like new roads, sewers, fire halls, and library branches.
There is a revenue shortfall for 2 reasons. One is provincial exemptions, and the second is there's been a lot less development activity.
In 2025, the city collected about $40 million less than it needed to cover the infrastructure costs it incurred.
They put in the sewer, water, roads just in time for a building permit to be developed. So there is risk, but it's manageable.
Mike Wallace of the London Development Institute is less worried, pointing to a growth management implementation strategy that allows City Hall to slow down or speed up projects based on urgency and available funding.
So we're at the table talking to staff about what projects we think are going to either move ahead or be delayed.
If you can't put the pipes in the ground because you don't have the money to pay for it, you don't get the new housing.
Even as London looks to deal with its DC deficit, there's a movement across the province to reduce or even eliminate development charges as a way to spur new housing starts. London's development charges currently range from about $34,000 on a row house to just over $50,000 on a single-family home.
We are supportive of the province looking at DCs as one of the affordability tools that need to be reduced so that people can actually afford to buy their first home.
But former City Councillor Sandy Levin points to a promise made by the provincial government not that long ago to cover new province-wide exemptions to development charges.
You've got a provincial government that said a couple of years ago, don't worry, municipalities, we'll make you whole. Well, the hole has just gotten bigger.
In June, a staff report will detail the impact that the DC deficit will have on future infrastructure projects. Daryl Newcomb, CTV News.
London police say they are looking for a suspect after an early morning sexual assault in West London. According to police, a woman was grabbed off a sidewalk on Sarnia Road near Castle Grove Boulevard by a stranger. They say she was dragged into a wooded area where she was assaulted. Police have released a description of the suspect, saying he is a white man, 40 to 60 years old, about 5'7", with a heavy build and facial hair. They say he was wearing a cap with a light blue shirt and a dark-colored short. Former Deputy Chief of Toronto Police is taking over Sarnia's police force leadership in the absence of suspended Chief Derek Davis. The police board has appointed Mike Federico to lead the department starting June 15th. A statement from the board highlights Chief Federico's experience in successfully steering police services through leadership transitions with absolute transparency. According to the Sarnia Police Board Chair, his appointment will last until the investigation into workplace harassment against Chief Davis is complete. Renewed calls today for reinstated funding at London's House of Hope. Local politicians joined officials from London Cares demanding the provincial government keep the doors open. With more on their message, here's Brian Bicknell.
One-bedroom apartment.
It's where Matthew Cameron hung his hat for more than a year. Now the supportive housing residents that got him off the street and helped him get sober could soon close doors.
Everybody needs some kind of support of some sort. Everybody's different. But I know for myself that if it wasn't for these guys, I may not be living right now.
The House of Hope tenant was on hand for a news conference as London New Democrat MPPs and 2 city councillors called on the PC government to reinstate its share of the funding to keep the residents open.
This is about people. This is about human rights in our community who finally have found safety, dignity, stability, and hope.
But the province has to stop hurting us.
House of Hope is operated by London Cares with a budget of about $3 million. It's funded by rent from tenants, along with $1.3 million from the city and $1.37 million from the province through London Health Sciences Centre. LHSC stopped its funding last year, but the home stayed open with one-year bridge funding from a donor. London Cares says without the provincial share, House of Hope will close at the end of November. Right now, there are 45 people who call this place home. It can house up to 56 people at a time. The idea is to have people stay until they're able to transition into permanent housing.
But at this point, we don't have anyone rostered to switch to any programs, and we are concerned. There's probably about 20 that will have a hard time finding a place. This is the only agency that really works with the highest acuity at this point like this.
CTV News reached out to Elgin Middlesex London MPP Rob Flack, but he was tied up in meetings. At Queen's Park earlier this week, he suggested House of Hope was never meant to be permanent.
The business of hospitals is not to provide supportive housing. The pilot's over, the funding got done.
And in a statement today, Flack said the city and House of Hope should find a solution together. As for Matt Cameron, he says he'll go back to living rough.
I go back on the street, and that's what it is. Like, I mean, I'll survive like anybody else would when they have to put those choices in front of you.
Brian Bicknell, CTV News.
Sections of Wellington Road will be closed throughout this coming week. City crews will be paving between Wilkins Street and Harlech Gate, part of the Wellington Gateway project. Closures are scheduled from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., taking place over 4 nights from Monday to Thursday and possibly Friday. City officials say lane restrictions, detours, and partial closures are all possible throughout this leg of construction. A London student has brought home a top award at the Canada-wide Science Fair.
About 55% of the estimated 25,000 near-Earth asteroids 140 meters or larger still remain undetected.
That's grade 7 student Siddharth Patel. He took home the top prize in the discovery category for his work developing an automated detection system for faint moving objects in telescopes and verifying whether they are legitimate asteroids. He had previously detected 2 asteroids this past October and says he hopes his automated system will help other amateur astronomers identify and report asteroids. Coming up, how much will it cost taxpayers to host the FIFA World Cup? Canada's main stock index was helped today by gains in technology stocks. In Toronto, the TSX gained 251, and in New York, the Dow added 363, and the Nasdaq is up 55. The Canadian dollar gained 0.05 cents, and on commodity markets, gold gained more than $60 an ounce, and oil fell $1.54 a barrel. Authorities in Vancouver released new numbers today detailing just how much it's going to cost taxpayers to host the World Cup. The updated budget shows it's going to be even more expensive than previously thought. However, there's some optimism over the chance at even higher revenues. With more on the math, here's Andrew Johnson.
Hosting 7 World Cup games inside Vancouver's BC Place will cost more or less, depending how you look at the math. And the province says it's leading the tournament in transparency.
There's no jurisdiction that's hosting a World Cup right now that is releasing the detailed information that's being released by the province of British Columbia.
A year ago, it estimated FIFA could cost British Columbians up to $624 million. Today, the figure is $729 million, an increase of more than $100 million. But projected revenue and cost recovery estimates are also higher, projected at $478 million last year. Today, $615. The bottom line, the province says overall net hosting costs have dropped by more than $30 million and are now estimated at $114 million.
Thanks to disciplined planning, strong financial oversight, and higher projected revenues.
The biggest revenue generator so far has been a 2.5% tax on all visitors to Vancouver booking short-term accommodation that will remain in effect until 2030. Over the next 5 years, BC says it will score $1 billion more in spin-off tourism. Sports economist Moshe Lander believes the benefit is being overstated and the losses from tourists and locals avoiding the city during FIFA ignored.
I don't want to be around that chaos. I want to be able to enjoy Vancouver in all of its beauty where it's not overcrowded with soccer hooligans. So you know what? I'm going to Kelowna instead.
A final answer to the question of, is it all worth it? Likely won't come for years. It all starts in exactly 2 weeks when the home team will hit the field in Toronto for the first World Cup game ever held in Canada. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Returning to our lead story tonight with more on what a technical recession looks like, here's Sean Irvin.
Friday morning dawns with some relief at the gas pumps.
Definitely down quite a bit from where it's been.
But the drop in price coincides with concerning news. Canada is now in a technical recession. While financial experts debate exactly what that means for the economy, the public is simply alarmed by the word.
I did not hear that yet. I'm surprised. I thought we were doing better than the U.S. anyways. I would expect them to be in a recession.
But as most of us know, it is not just the price of gas that is stressing out consumers. It's the cost of other essentials, including mortgage, rent, car repair bills, and yes, groceries. Out shopping with her young son Fergus and her mother Kathy, Rachel Vass agreed the economy is teetering on the edge.
A little uncertain for sure, but I mean, we can only do what we can do, and everything is increasing as the world changes.
Her retired mother feels fortunate that she can help if finances become a challenge for the next generation. Some of her friends are already doing what they can to help their adult children cover the cost of housing.
The young people can't afford them these days. I mean, are they making enough money to actually afford a mortgage? And the cost of housing, I can't believe it. We were just so lucky when we bought when we did.
Mike Beard is grateful that disability insurance is keeping him housed, even though the extra remains a struggle. Still, he worries about the stresses of others.
I feel sorry for people, for attitude, money, the prices, spending a lot more what they used to.
Back at the gas pumps, Sean Smith is fueling up before resuming his search for a new job. He is taking the word recession in stride.
Well, not that worried about it just yet. I've seen many recessions.
In London, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
Good evening, I'm Rita Ismail. As we head into the night, we have clear, calm, and comfortable overnight conditions. We do have that wind slowly easing. High pressure in play today, which meant lots of sunshine, and we're actually going to hold on to that as we head into the last weekend of May. That strong area of high pressure is going to block low pressure systems around us from bringing anything in the way of moisture and cloud cover, believe it or not. So our temperatures on the cooler side tomorrow, but warming up nicely for Sunday. I'll walk you through the full forecast on the other side of this break.
Rita is here now with a detailed look at your weekend forecast. Rita?
Thanks so much, Lauren. Our high today, 24 degrees, right where we're supposed to be this time of year. It was a beautiful sun-filled Friday. The record on this day in 1987, we hit 32 degrees, record low 1 in 1949. As we head into the night, it is quite calm, beautiful conditions. We had a bit of gusty winds earlier today, but they have subsided. Heading into the night, again, not much on the radar for us. We have this low pressure system moving out. It was northeast of us, so we didn't really deal with anything in the way of moisture. The only thing with this system is because it's pushing through, the strong wind gusts for Saturday will have us feeling cooler in terms of our temperatures for your Saturday, but still beautiful sunny skies for the last weekend in May. Here's how the forecast model looks. So because we have this strong ridge of high pressure in play, we're not really dealing with a lot of moisture. It is keeping both this system and the one to the south at bay. We're not really going to see much in the way of rainfall until maybe next weekend, which is a plus as we head into June. So again, Saturday and Sunday, plenty of sunshine for outdoor activity, calm, comfortable and seasonal temperatures, especially for tomorrow. Although a cool start at 10 degrees, those winds will be gusting out of the northeast 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. And behind that weak low pressure system that's not bringing us anything other than a cool down to 20 degrees, the high tomorrow. Heading into Sunday, we warm up slightly, 24 degrees, and take a look at all these sunny icons. For the next 7 days, it looks like minimal chance for anything in the way of rainfall. And of course, we do officially welcome June on Monday. The temperature around seasonal Monday through to Wednesday. And then we do have a bit of a bump warming up. The humidity starts to rise as well late next week. The high 27 on Thursday. Midwestern Ontario, a bit of a cool start to your Saturday as well. That clear overnight conditions will bring in that cool northeasterly airflow. And then Saturday into Sunday, lots of sunshine though. We'll warm up nicely to 19 tomorrow, 23 on Sunday. Perfect backyard barbecue weather. And then Monday through to Wednesday, wall-to-wall sunshine. Absolutely picture perfect forecast. If you do enjoy the outdoors and sunshine, this one's for you. 23 degrees Wednesday, and then it starts to get a little bit uncomfortable. 25 on Thursday. We will feel the humidity, and of course this will be the first full week of June as it officially arrives on Monday. Lauren?
Thanks, Rita. We're continuing our series celebrating London's bicentennial tonight with a look at one of our city's most recognizable buildings. The old courthouse has stood at the fork of the Thames since London's funding. With the latest edition of London 200, here's Sean Urban.
For most of its 200 years, this Gothic structure has presided over the law in London, from high-profile murder trials to frontier justice.
Because the first time they tried to hang him, the rope broke, so they had to try a second time.
The story of the Middlesex County Courthouse begins long before the first brick covered in stucco is placed. It sits on a site originally planned to be the center of not only the district, but all of Upper Canada. This was the wish of our founder, Lieutenant Governor and British war hero, John Graves Simcoe.
It was going to be the capital, but even though he landed at the forks of the Thames, the original plan was to call it New London, and it was going to be where the Coves was.
The future capital, named in homage of the other London, was selected not only for the intersecting river, but for its inland location, far away from the ever-present threat of American invasion, according to Stephen Liggett, a tour guide here for almost 40 years.
It would take a while for them to get here, and that would give them the time to react.
But despite the tactical advantages, Simcoe's plan was overruled. Concentrated settlement would not occur until the 1820s. The old courthouse was among the first buildings underway by 1826. And while the original structure was half the size, it retains many of the original characteristics still seen today.
But with all the towers and the windows and all the rest of it, it looked very much like a castle. And legend has it that it resembles Malahide Castle in Ireland. And of course, that was the ancestral home of Colonel Thomas Talbot.
Colonel Talbot, responsible for most European settlement, wanted the castle to serve as the government center of the London district. It was intended to be imposing.
It must have been very strange to see a castle being built out in the wilderness with battlements and arched window openings. It looked more like something you would have seen back in Europe than something you would expect to see here.
So much so, its Gothic towers in the woods spawned a nickname that has stuck.
To the point where it became known as the city in the forest, and that's where our Forest City name comes from, not because of how many trees we got.
It was not long before most district services outgrew the castle. By the 1840s, the court and the newly built jail were its main functions. Justice would be swift. The first public execution occurred in 1830 when Cornelius Burley met his end. Accused of killing a police officer, he became the first and second person hanged before a crowd of 3,000.
People came from 50 miles or so around to watch it. He's the person that was hanged twice because the rope broke the first time.
So they actually had to find another rope, set the whole thing up, drop him through the trap door the second time, and they were successful.
To say the entire scene was macabre was an understatement.
People would have been watching this because up until the 1860s, the executions were done in public. It was quite an exciting time. People could come and bring the kids and bring your lunch and, watch the wonderful event of somebody being hanged.
While public executions came to an end, the notoriety of deaths beyond the prison walls did not. Phoebe Campbell was the first woman executed in 1872 for murdering her husband. The death and the trial was immortalized in a postcard. The most infamous hanging was that of Marion Pegleg Brown, a Texas man who fled authorities after shooting a police officer.
Because they bring a lot of people in, but they're looking for a one-legged man.
Eventually, he was caught in Washington state and returned to London.
Now, the whole time he was kicking and screaming that he was innocent, he had nothing to do with this, he had the wrong man.
As he walked down the steps and into a jail cell mere hours before his execution, Pegleg Brown uttered damning words.
He cursed the building, he cursed all the people involved, and swore that grass would never grow on his grave. Since that time, he is supposed to be haunting the building.
When the partial skeleton of Pegleg was rediscovered in 1985, grass was said not to be growing on the spot. In all, 26 people would hang at the jail, the final act taking place in 1951. Walter Rowe would be sentenced to death after a mechanic was shot in a botched gas station robbery. But unlike a century earlier, the public's thoughts were changing. Suddenly, people were no longer cheering about capital punishment.
And they were there to protest capital punishment. So you go from the 3,000 people watching the first one hang to people protesting the last one being hung.
But not everyone who faced a judge here was sentenced to die. Some were exonerated, including those involved in one of the biggest cases ever convened here. The grisly murders of 5 members of the Donnelly family near Lucan created an international sensation over 2 trials.
It's the biggest, most famous case. Every media outlet within hundreds of miles would have been represented.
The cases were packed with stacked juries and judges who clearly sided with either the prosecution or the defense. No one would ever be convicted.
There was no way they were going to get a guilty verdict out of the whole thing.
But a looming verdict has hung over this building for much of its history. Threatened with demolition at multiple points, it became a National Historic Site in 1955. Closed as a courthouse in 1974, it now serves as the headquarters of the County of Middlesex. But the county will depart by the end of this year after selling the building into private hands. Its 200-year legacy now uncertain.
What are you going to do with it? Like, it's not really something that could be broken up into apartments.
I worry about its existence. What is going to be done by the owners that taken it?
In London, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
A cancer survivor is making his way across the country, hitchhiking from coast to coast. As Sean Leathong reports, he was inspired by a Canadian icon who embarked on a cross-country mission of his own.
You'll see his thumb extended. Notice the bright propeller hat, and then the sign he's holding. Quinn Strang is hitchhiking across Canada to raise money for cancer research, but
I have absolutely no clue what's going to happen next.
Standing on the side of the road in Toronto, this journey has been long, not just on the road, but personally, as the 20-year-old has beaten cancer twice.
I was diagnosed when I was 15 with Ewing sarcoma, so I had a tumor in my left femur that spread throughout my body, my lungs, and my lymph nodes, and I had about a 15% chance to live. I beat it, and then I relapsed again when I was 17, and I had to get a femur transplant.
His journey through cancer treatment was inspiration to take on this one, following in the footsteps of Terry Fox.
No nation or any group of any people in the world will ever be as united as Canada was when Terry Fox did his Marathon of Hope. And, you know, I could never imagine running across Canada with a prosthetic leg, but if I can stick out my thumb and that gets attention to a good cause, I'll do my own take on it. This is day one.
On May 17th, Strang stuck his feet in the Atlantic Ocean in St. John's, Newfoundland, and has spent the past 12 days meeting Canadians on his way west.
I have made it to Parliament here in Ottawa.
With a new story at every stop.
And I ended up getting blessed by a Buddhist monk in Ottawa, and I drove a Porsche through the countryside, and I had no clue that was going to happen.
Thea Alba and her partner found Quinn near Perth, Ontario, bringing him all the way to the GTA.
I don't think I would have done it on my own, but he was just this kid with like a sign, and I like when I saw what he was doing, I was like, I have to help out in some way.
And help out Canadians have. Quinn Strang's GoFundMe page has already raised over $40,000.
My goal is to raise $100,000. That is $1 for everybody from the city of Moncton.
But while it can be hard to be picked up as a hitchhiker, Quinn hopes his appearance can be disarming.
I feel like people will be more outgoing and trustworthy of some idiot kid wearing a propeller hat. Hey there, where are you guys heading?
He has each new driver autograph his sign. The goal is to make it to Victoria, BC by June 15th before flying back to his job as a lifeguard in Moncton. From now until then,
you meet these amazing people and all these amazing stories happen, and you just never know what's going to happen next.
Trusting that his thumb, his hat, and his sign will get him there. Sean Lee Thong, CTV News.
8 people in Texas just had a roller coaster ride of a lifetime, and chances are none of them have any interest in repeating the experience. John Lornick reports.
It made like a very big bang, like it went boom. So it just got stuck there. It just got stuck.
And that mysterious glitch left 8 riders hanging backward near the top of the Iron Shark roller coaster for several hours Thursday evening in Galveston, Texas.
Basically, you know, the ride, it just started malfunctioning, and then so basically the ride, it starts off by stopping in the middle of the ride, but then as it went up, it stopped again.
The Iron Shark is one of the tallest rides at the Pleasure Pier Park, and the Galveston Fire Department had just enough reach.
It is about 100 feet up right now, and our ladder is 105 feet. Wow. So we're working with feet and inches here.
The riders were individually placed in safety harnesses and brought down with no reports of any significant injuries.
Of course, they were shaken up from climbing that ladder down, being in that hot sun. They have been checked for dehydration, and everyone seems to be doing pretty good.
Pleasure Pier released a statement saying the ride, quote, experienced a malfunction and that it will undergo a thorough inspection before returning to operation.
For me, I don't know what I would do if I was in their shoes, honestly. Yeah, it would just be crazy.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
That's our time tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Lauren Stallone. Have a good night.